Have you ever considered that the purpose of your marriage is not to make you comfortable? That perhaps its highest function isn't happiness, but strength? We have been sold a bill of goods. A cultural narrative that marriage is a destination for comfort, a retreat from the world. This is a dangerous falsehood. It makes us fragile. It makes us quit when the heat gets turned up. I'm here to offer you a different frame, a more resilient one. Your marriage is not a resort, it is a forge. It is the single greatest arena for the development of character, virtue, and an unbreakable mind. And, like any place of great value, it is a battlefield. It is under constant assault not from some cartoon demon with a pitchfork, but from far more insidious forces. Cultural decay that preaches radical individualism, psychological entropy that pulls us toward selfishness and reactivity, and the internal chaos of our own undisciplined minds. When I was a younger man, I ran my business and my life on the operating system of pure emotion and ego. I was successful by all external metrics. I had the money, the recognition, the drive. I brought that same energy into my marriage. I thought love was a feeling, a passionate fire that should burn on its own. When it didn't, I thought the marriage was broken. When my wife and I disagreed, I saw her as an adversary to be defeated in an argument. When external pressures mounted, a bad quarter in the business, a family crisis, they immediately became internal fractures in our home. Our union was built on the sand of fleeting feelings and external conditions. And it nearly crumbled. My crucible moment, a burnout that cost me my health and nearly my company, was the same fire that nearly incinerated my marriage. It was only when I was stripped of everything I thought defined me that I realized the true battle was never outside of me. It was within. The Stoics taught me this. Marcus Aurelius, an emperor who ruled a vast and chaotic world, understood that his true domain was his own mind. He wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." He didn't say it depends on your spouse's behavior or the state of the economy. He said it depends on your thoughts. This is the foundation of the iron mind. This is the first principle of defending your union. You must stop seeing marriage as a passive experience that happens to you and start treating it as a discipline you practice daily. It is a commitment to forge something strong and beautiful in the fires of reality. The world will not stop attacking your marriage. The question is, are you prepared for the battle? Do you have a strategy, or are you just reacting to the enemy's moves? Let's begin by identifying the enemy's tactics, because you cannot defeat an enemy you do not understand. The first step is to recognize that the primary target is the sacred ground of your union. It is targeted precisely because a strong, virtuous marriage is a powerful force for good in a chaotic world. It creates stability. It forges resilient children. It stands as a bulwark against cultural nihilism. Weakening it serves the forces of chaos. Your job is to stand as a guardian at that gate, armed not with anger or resentment, but with logic, calm, and a shared purpose. Before we continue, ask yourself this: have I been treating my marriage like a comfortable retreat or a demanding training ground for virtue? Your answer will determine everything. To defend your union, you must first become a master strategist of the human mind, beginning with your own. The enemy's tactics are subtle. They are not a frontal assault, but a quiet siege designed to erode your fortress from within. The three primary avenues of attack are almost always communication breakdown, erosion of respect, and spiritual isolation. Think of these as the enemy's main lines of attack. Communication breakdown manifests as chronic misunderstanding, the silent treatment or stonewalling, and the assumption of negative intent. Your spouse says something, and you hear an accusation. They express a need, and you perceive it as a criticism. The space between you, once filled with clarity and goodwill, becomes a fog of suspicion and misinterpretation. The Stoic reframe here is to shift your focus entirely from what you hear to the intention behind your own words and the charity you extend to theirs. Epictetus was ruthless on this point. He taught that we are disturbed not by what happens to us, but by our thoughts about what happens. Is your spouse truly attacking you, or are you choosing to interpret their words in the least generous way possible? The undisciplined mind defaults to defense and suspicion. The trained stoic mind defaults to clarity and charity. I worked with a mentee, a brilliant tech executive named David. He and his wife were on the brink of divorce. He swore she was sabotaging him. "She questions every decision I make about the company," he'd say. "She's constantly undermining my authority." He saw her as an adversary. After weeks of work, we drilled down to the reality. His wife, seeing the stress he was under, was trying to engage as a partner, to be a sounding board. But his ego was so fragile, his mind so untrained, that he interpreted her questions as attacks on his competence. The external problem he identified was, "My wife doesn't respect me." The actual problem was, I lack the internal security to hear questions without perceiving them as threats. The enemy wasn't his wife, it was his own untamed ego. This is the crucial insight. The true enemy in your marriage is almost never your spouse. It is your own unexamined, undisciplined, and instantaneous reactions. The second tactic is the erosion of respect. This is the death by 1,000 cuts. It's the sarcastic comment, the eye roll, the contemptuous tone. It's criticism that focuses on the person, not the behavior. Seneca wrote extensively about gratitude as an antidote to this kind of poison. He saw it not as a soft sentiment, but as a rational practice. The practice of daily gratitude and honor forces your mind to see what is good, to acknowledge the virtues in your partner. Contempt can only grow in a mind that is focused on fault and flaw. By deliberately focusing on what you respect and admire, you starve the enemy of his ammunition. Finally, there is spiritual isolation. You begin to drift apart, no longer sharing a deeper sense of purpose or faith. The conversations become purely logistical. Who's picking up the kids? What's for dinner? Did you pay that bill? The shared why that once animated your union dissolves. The defense here is to proactively create joint spiritual routines, a shared time to connect on a level deeper than household management. Are you fighting alongside your spouse, or are you making them the enemy? Are you battling external circumstances, or are you battling your own reactions to those circumstances? Once you've identified the enemy's tactics, you need to arm yourself. Your primary weapon system, your spiritual armor, is stoic communication. In the heat of conflict, the untrained mind reacts. The trained mind responds. There is a universe of difference between those two words. A reaction is instinctual, emotional, and often destructive. It's the lizard brain taking over. A response is deliberate, logical, and constructive. It is the action of a sovereign mind. Marcus Aurelius stated it perfectly. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This single principle, when applied to communication in a marriage, is revolutionary. It means your spouse's anger does not have to become your anger. Their frustration does not have to become your chaos. You can hold your ground, not with aggression, but with impenetrable calm. This armor is forged from 3 stoic pillars. The first is to listen to understand, not to reply. Most of us don't listen. We wait for our turn to talk. We are formulating our rebuttal, our defense, our counterattack while the other person is still speaking. This is not communication, it is verbal combat. To listen to understand means you silence your own internal monologue. You give the other person the profound gift of your full attention. You listen for the emotion beneath their words. You get curious. Instead of thinking, "That's a ridiculous accusation," you think, "I wonder what fear or pain is driving that statement." This single shift diffuses 90% of all marital conflicts. The second pillar is to speak with purpose. This means speaking only what is true, what is necessary, and what is kind. Before you speak, you subject your words to this three-gate test. Is it true? Am I certain? Or is this an emotional assumption? Is it necessary? Will this build the union, or will it just serve my ego to win the point? And is it kind? Can I frame this feedback in a way that respects the dignity of my partner, my ally? I once mentored a young couple where the husband's feedback was always brutal. "You're so disorganized," he'd say. It was his truth, but it was neither necessary nor kind in its delivery. I taught him to reframe it with purpose. "I feel anxious when the house is in chaos. Can we work together on a system to create more calm for us?" He was still addressing the issue, but he was doing it as a partner, not a prosecutor. The final pillar is emotional equilibrium. This is where the real work of the Stoic lies. It is the mastery of the pause. When you feel that hot, reactive anger rising in your chest, you invoke the pause principle. You take one deep breath before you say a single word. In that space, that 1 second, you reclaim control from your emotional reflexes. You ask yourself the ultimate Stoic question. What virtue can I practice in this moment? Patience? Understanding? Courage? In that moment, you cease to be a puppet of your emotions and become the master of your response. This isn't about suppressing emotion, it's about refusing to be enslaved by it. Your goal is not to win the fight, but to solve the problem together. Are you reacting on instinct, or are you responding with intention? Defensive strategies are crucial, but a fortress that is never maintained will eventually fall. You cannot simply wait for an attack and then try to mount a defense. You must proactively, daily, build your inner citadel, and you must build it together. This is not about grand romantic gestures. It's about small, consistent, daily disciplines that create a culture of resilience and unity in your marriage. This is the work. This is the forge. If you are not deliberately building your union every day, then you are, by default, allowing entropy to tear it down. The forces of chaos are relentless, therefore. Your discipline must be relentless. This requires moving from an individualistic mindset of, "I need to be strong," to a unified mindset of, "We need to fortify our union." The foundation of this joint citadel is a set of shared disciplines. I am not speaking of vague platitudes. I am talking about scheduled, non-negotiable practices. The first is a daily shared moment of stillness. This could be 5 minutes of shared prayer or meditation in the morning before the chaos of the day begins. It's a moment to anchor yourselves, together, in something deeper than your to-do list. It's a silent declaration that says, before we face the world, we connect with each other and our shared purpose. The second is the joint study of wisdom. Spend 15 minutes a week reading something meaningful together. The Stoics, Proverbs, any text that challenges you to live more virtuously. Discuss one idea. How can we apply this to our work, our parenting, our marriage this week? This transforms you from mere cohabitants into partners on a path of growth. The third, and perhaps most practical discipline, is the weekly strategic check-in. Put it on the calendar like you would a critical business meeting. For 30 minutes every Sunday night, you sit down and ask 4 questions. 1. Where were we strong as a team this week? 2. Where were we vulnerable, or where did we face an attack? 3. What is the main threat on the horizon for the coming week? 4. How will we proactively support each other, and what virtues will we need to deploy to face it? This is not a session for airing grievances. It is a strategic meeting for the 2 most important leaders of your family unit. It transforms you from reactive victims of circumstance into proactive architects of your life. This entire process is fueled by the 4 cardinal Stoic virtues applied to the union. Wisdom, learning together, seeking counsel when needed, and seeing problems with clarity. Courage, the willingness to have the hard conversations, to face uncomfortable truths as a team, not as adversaries. Justice, treating each other with fairness, respect, and goodwill, even and especially when you are in conflict. It means giving your partner the benefit of the doubt. And temperance, the practice of self-restraint. It is the refusal to use words as weapons, the mastery over your own impulses for the good of the union. Are you and your spouse living like two individuals who happen to share a house, or are you actively and deliberately building one unified, fortified citadel? A general who only knows theory but has never studied specific enemy tactics will lose the war. It's not enough to understand the virtues, you must know how to deploy them on the specific battlefields where your marriage will be attacked. Let's get ruthlessly practical. We're going to wargame 4 of the most common attacks on a marriage and design a specific, stoic-based defensive strategy for each. This is the practice of premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils, which Seneca called the pre-rehearsal of the future. It's not about pessimistic worrying, it's about strategic preparation. By anticipating the attack, you strip it of its power to shock and overwhelm you. Attack number 1. Financial stress. This is one of the most common and effective tactics used to divide a couple. It introduces fear, scarcity, and blame. The undisciplined response is to blame the spender or worry about the earner. You turn on each other. The Stoic defense is twofold. First, you practice the virtue of contentment. You jointly and explicitly define what enough looks like for your family. You separate your needs from your wants. This removes the emotional hysteria from money. Second, you treat the budget not as a restriction, but as a shared strategic plan. You are co-CEOs of your family's finances. You have weekly meetings, you review the numbers without emotion, and you set joint goals. When financial pressure hits, you don't say, "What are you going to do about this?" You say, "Okay, we have a new problem to solve. Let's look at the plan and adjust our strategy as a team." Attack number 2, family interference. In-laws, parents, or siblings who overstep boundaries, offer unsolicited advice, or create division. The reactive response is for one spouse to defend their family, creating a loyalty conflict. "She's my mother. You can't talk about her that way." This drives a wedge directly into the heart of your union. The Stoic defense is to establish an unbreakable unified front. You and your spouse are a new sovereign nation. You must privately agree on your boundaries. Then you present those boundaries together, respectfully but firmly. The script might sound like this. "Mom, we love you and we value your input. On this topic of how we raise our children, we've decided to handle it ourselves. We need you to support our decision as a team." The key is the word "we." There is no daylight between you for the interference to penetrate. Attack number 3. Career pressures. Long hours, work stress spilling into the home, and the ambition of one partner making the other feel neglected. The enemy wants you to see your spouse's career as your competition. The Stoic defense is to explicitly subordinate your careers to the marriage. Your union is the primary mission. Your jobs are supporting missions. This requires honest, scheduled conversations. You ask, is the way we are working right now serving our primary mission, or is it harming it? This allows you to make conscious choices. Maybe it means saying no to a promotion, or one partner scaling back for a season, or finding ways to support the stressed partner so the pressure doesn't fracture the home. Attack number 4. Technology and social media. The subtle poison of distraction. The phone at the dinner table. The endless scrolling that robs you of presence. This creates a marriage of two people living in parallel digital worlds, not a shared reality. The Stoic defense is to practice temperance and carve out sacred, device-free space and time. No phones in the bedroom, no devices during meals. A scheduled hour every evening where all screens are off and you are fully present with one another. This is not a suggestion in the modern world. It is a requirement for a thriving union. In which of these areas is your fortress most vulnerable right now? What is one specific, unified strategy you can agree on today to reinforce that wall? Defense is essential. It keeps you from losing ground. But you will never win a war through defense alone. To build a truly unbreakable, thriving union, one that becomes a source of power and light for you and everyone around you, You must go on the offensive. Offensive tactics are not about attacking your spouse. They are about proactively and aggressively building so much good, so much strength, and so much grace into your marriage that the enemy's attacks lose their power. They are the daily practices that build momentum and turn a fragile truce into a dynamic, conquering alliance. This is about moving from merely surviving to actively flourishing. The first offensive tactic is the weaponization of daily, specific gratitude. This goes beyond a general feeling of thankfulness. It is a targeted, verbal affirmation. Every single day, you are to find one specific thing your spouse did or a quality they embodied, and you are to speak it out loud to them. Not, "Thanks for everything you do," but, "I saw how patiently you handled that difficult call with the insurance company today, and I really admire your composure." Or, "When you made coffee for me this morning before I was even out of bed, it made me feel so cared for." This practice does two things. It forces your mind to hunt for the good, training your perception away from fault-finding. And it provides your partner with the specific, encouraging fuel they need. This is not flattery, it is reporting the truth of their virtue back to them. The second offensive tactic is the practice of active blessing. This can be spiritual or secular, depending on your beliefs. It is the act of holding your partner in your mind and actively wishing them well, and then telling them you are doing so. It can be a quiet prayer for them as they head off to a stressful day at work. It can be a simple text message saying, "I'm thinking of you today and sending you strength for that big meeting." This practice fundamentally reframes your partner in your own mind. They are not a problem to be managed or a need to be met. They are a person to be honored, supported, and championed. You become their greatest advocate, their most fervent supporter. This creates a powerful upward spiral of mutual support and goodwill. The ultimate offensive strategy, however, is to define and commit to a shared mission. A marriage built only on romantic love will not last, because feelings are fickle. A marriage built only on raising children will face a crisis when the nest is empty. But a marriage built on a shared why is unconquerable. Sit down together and write a mission statement for your union. Why do you exist as a couple, beyond your own happiness? Is it to create a home that is a place of refuge and hospitality for others? Is it to build a business or a legacy of service? Is it to break a generational cycle of trauma and create a new pattern of love and resilience? This shared mission becomes your North Star. When conflict arises, you can ask, "Is our current behavior serving our mission?" When a difficult decision must be made, you ask, "Which choice is most aligned with our mission?" Your marriage stops being about the two of you and starts being about the powerful thing the two of you are building together. What is the great why that animates your union? If you don't have one, what is one step you can take this week to start that conversation? Even the most disciplined soldier, the most brilliant strategist knows that some battles cannot be won alone. There will be times when the battle for your marriage intensifies beyond your own capacity to handle it. The enemy will mount an overwhelming assault: infidelity, addiction, deep-seated trauma, a devastating loss. In these moments, the most courageous and stoic response is not to stubbornly insist on handling it yourselves. That is not strength, that is pride. And pride is a catastrophic flaw in any leader. True strength, true wisdom, lies in recognizing the limits of your own abilities and having the humility to call for reinforcements. This is a core Stoic principle. The Stoics were not lone wolves. They were part of a community of thinkers who learned from each other, who challenged each other, who sought wisdom from their predecessors. Seneca sought counsel in his letters. Marcus Aurelius learned from his tutors and his predecessors. They understood that wisdom is a collective pursuit. To seek help from a trusted mentor, a skilled counselor, or a wise spiritual advisor is not an admission of failure. It is a brilliant strategic move. It is an admission that you value the survival and victory of your union more than you value your own ego. You are bringing in an experienced general who has seen this battlefield before, who can spot the enemy's tactics that you are blind to, and who can provide you with strategies you do not yet possess. I remember my own crucible moment vividly. My business was on the ropes, my health was shot, and the tension at home was suffocating. I was trying to fix it all myself, with sheer force of will. I thought asking for help was the ultimate weakness. I finally broke. A friend, an older man who had seen his share of battles, sat me down. He didn't give me advice. He simply asked questions and listened. And then he said, "Cassian, the strongest thing a man can do is admit he doesn't have all the answers." That conversation shattered my pride and saved my life. It led me to the study of philosophy and eventually to the mentors who helped me rebuild my mind, and, by extension, my marriage. Admitting I needed help was not my moment of defeat. It was the beginning of my true victory. When you seek counsel, you are not handing over command. You are gathering intelligence. You are seeking a third-party, objective view of the battlefield that is unclouded by the fog of your own emotional involvement. A good counselor or mentor doesn't fight the battle for you. They hand you a better map. They point out the ambushes you're walking into. They teach you how to use your weapons more effectively. The goal is to find someone who will honor the sanctity of your marriage and equip both of you to fight more effectively together. Remember, resilience is not about never falling down. It is about how you get back up. And sometimes, the most resilient thing you can do is reach out a hand and allow someone to help you both back to your feet, together. Do you have a wise person in your life you could turn to if the battle intensified? If not, what is your plan to find one before the crisis hits? We come now to the end, but it is truly a beginning. If you have followed this path, you understand a truth that our culture has forgotten. A victorious marriage is not one without scars. A victorious marriage is one that has been tested by fire and has emerged, not unscathed, but stronger, purer, and more formidable. The victory is not a life without conflict, but the development of two characters who, through the discipline of that union, have become people of virtue, wisdom, and unshakable fortitude. Your marriage is not a contract for comfort, it is a covenant for character. The daily struggles, the hard conversations, the moments of sacrifice, these are not flaws in the system. They are the system. That is the forge. That is the apparatus for your growth. The world settles for transactional relationships. You give me this, I'll give you that. As long as my needs are met, I will stay. This is the path to fragility and inevitable collapse. The path of the Stoic, the path of the warrior defending a sacred union, is different. It is a commitment to a shared mission, a dedication to the forging of one's own soul and the soul of one's partner. It is the understanding that the greatest love is not found in gazing at each other, but in looking outward together in the same direction, toward that shared mission. You stop asking, "What am I getting out of this?" and you start asking, "What virtue can I contribute to this? How can I be a better ally?" Think of the legacy. The impact of a defended, victorious marriage does not end with you. It ripples outward. It is the single greatest lesson you will ever teach your children. You are showing them not through your words but through your actions what commitment looks like, what resilience looks like, what it means to love someone not because they are perfect, but with a fierce dedication to a shared journey. You create a stable foundation from which they can launch into the world with confidence and strength. You become a beacon of hope in your community, a quiet testament to the fact that it is possible to build something beautiful and enduring in a world that champions the temporary and the trivial. Your marriage becomes an act of rebellion against the chaos. The work is not easy. It requires daily vigilance, humility, and courage. But nothing of value is ever built without effort. The choice is yours. You can drift along, reacting to circumstances and watch as the inevitable pressures of life erode your union. Or you can choose to become a student of your own mind, a master of your responses, and a guardian of your marriage. You can decide, today, to treat your union as the sacred training ground it is meant to be. My final question to you is this. What is the one daily practice, the one small discipline, that you will commit to starting today to actively defend and strengthen your union? Name it, write it down, share it with your spouse. The battle is already underway. It is time to pick up your armor and fight.